Time for another video today. This one's going to be in the garage. A little cold outside, and I am getting over a cold, so I'm not going to be riding today. So the project today is to replace my horn. This is the horn that came with the bike. Factory horn. Not very loud. Just a little meep meep kind of sound. Maybe good for a scooter, but one thing I discovered this year, especially on the highway, when the bike is running loud at highway speed and cars and trucks and everything, you hit that horn and it's not very loud. So I'm going to be replacing it with a horn that should be easily twice as loud. Right now this is what the stock horn sounds like. So that kind of sounds loud here in the garage, but it's really not that loud out on the highway. So what I'm going to replace it with is the Wolo horn, which was pretty highly recommended. Not very expensive. It's chrome, but it's all plastic. Mostly plastic anyway. It says in the package, made of the finest materials, the finest plastic available. But it wasn't too expensive, and it is pretty loud. So it actually is an air horn. This is a compressor, and it uses a lot more current than the regular horn, so it's going to be require a relay, and there's a little wiring kit which makes it very easy to install on a motorcycle. A few other things. The idea of a relay is pretty interesting. Basically right now the factory horn does not really use very much current, and so the current goes from the battery up to the switch on the handlebar and then right down to the horn. But the new horn has something like a 30 amp fuse or something crazy like that. If you pump that amount of current through the small wires and this very basic switch up here, it's going to burn out. So the way that this works with a relay is what you're doing when you operate the switch for the horn. All that really does is it triggers the relay, and then the relay is what pumps out the higher current to the horn. So the wiring is thicker, higher quality, not higher quality, but just, able to carry more current. Has an inline fuse, and that way you can put something that uses more current on your bike and not have to worry about frying any wiring. So to do this, I need to take off the seat, which means I need to take off the back seat, which means I need to take off the bag. And I'm probably just going to put the bike up on my jack to make it level. I'm not going to record the whole thing step by step because there's videos how to do that, but we'll just get the highlights as we go through, and then at the end we'll see how the new horn sounds. So that's the plan today. Stay tuned. Taking off the seat, and as you can see, it's up in lift now. This is cover to where the battery and some other electronics are, which normally pops right off, but there we go. So what I'm going to do is disconnect the battery cables. The wiring for the horn will most likely be right up here. So I'm just going to take the old horn off and just follow the wiring diagram and see how it goes. I got the negative battery cable disconnected. It was kind of a bugger tucked down in there. Nobody ever accused me of being the smartest guy in the room, but I do know how to improvise. When you take this battery cable off, there's always the possibility that it can just kind of hit something and make a ground connection. So I throw a little tape over that just so I don't have to worry about that. And the other thing that's really helpful is this little guy I got at the store. It's just a magnet. And so when you drop something, which I already did twice, like my little extension here, just reach in the engine, pick it right up. And the other thing was the screw. Instead of fumbling in and trying to get it with my hand, you just reach in, dink, there you go. So definitely good things to have if you're doing stuff like this. All right, so all the electric is disconnected. Now I can go ahead with the horn wiring. We're making some progress. First thing I had to do was determine where I wanted to put the relay. They want it in a dry location. This is the relay, and then this is what the relay plugs into that came with the wiring kit. It's a little bulky, like 1-inch square. And so I decided to put it in this spot, which is right under the seat. I wanted to put it down here near the battery, maybe right up here, but it was just a little too big for the battery cover to close. They wanted it vertical, but I think that was just to keep any moisture out of it. I felt better just putting tape around it, and I don't think it's going to get wet under the seat. I mean, that's where other Sirius electronics is. That's probably the driest spot on the whole bike. Anyway, 3 of the wires will get routed over to where the horn is. You can see I did that a little bit, used a few zip ties. I'm probably going to use black electrical tape, tape these up, because I don't want any, I especially do not want to see a red wire. And even the gray ones, I mean, everything else is black. The old wiring for the horn has this nice sleeve on it. I don't have one of those, so we'll hide that up real good so you can't really notice the wire. So next I have to trim some of these. They give you a lot of extra gray cable, which is fine, but there is a short piece of ground wire, and it's just going to make it probably. This is going to probably get connected over here and go down to the horn, so there's not a lot of extra. Anyway, we're getting there. That's the midway point. Well, it wouldn't be a project without a trip to the hardware store, right? $2.49. Ring terminals. The bike has some LED wiring under the gas tank, which was held on by these really worn out. You can't really re-crimp these. The wire was just about to break. So I got some new ones. That's the LED wire. It's very, very small, like 22 gauge or something. So that's new. And this is what I'm going to use for the horn ground wire. That'll go on there as well. The terminal they gave me for the ground wire was too small. It just would not work. So we got the ring terminals, and those are great. I connected in the 2 gray wires to the horn wiring, and now I have 2 others that need to be trimmed, which will go on the bottom of the horn itself. And then I can start packing all this together, zip tying things, and give it a try. It's funny when you do a project like this, you keep getting more and more tools out, but that's part of the fun. All right, folks, we are about there. The horn is in place. I didn't completely tape off the wires on the bottom, but I will after I test it. I just don't like seeing any red there. Up here, the flashlight, I think that's, basically going to be fine. It's not touching anything hot. It's not a show bike, obviously, but that wiring is consistent with all the other wiring on this bike. You don't even notice it. It's when it's on the ground, that's kind of what you see. So that looks good. Everything's tucked away nice. These ring terminals worked out excellent. I'm really glad I replaced those because they were not in good shape. Here, everything's all together. This is the inline fuse. Just tuck that in there, give it a little zip tie. Nothing's going to move. The relay's nice and tight. So everything is where it should be. I'm going to connect the negative battery terminal, make sure it works, put it all back together, and we'll give it a test. We are done. The horn is installed, all the wiring is done, everything is closed up. Visually, it looks great. And audibly, there's no way this microphone will capture how loud this thing is. It is stunningly loud compared to the other one. I mean, what a great upgrade for a very small cost. Definitely going to be giving me a little better feeling safety-wise if I have to hit my horn, knowing that's there. So It's about 30 degrees out, but in a few days it's going to be 60. Hopefully I'm feeling better and I can ride, and I can do it with a new horn. Over and out.